Good afternoon, Alan Vandenberg here, another episode of EQ for You, episode number 27. Today's episode is called Emotional Switches. We're operating off the idea that 75% of a person's or a team's success is not their IQ. If you have not done so yet, please pick up a copy of my book called EQ Killed the Radio Star, How Emotional Intelligence Can Crush or Crash Your Organization. You can pick that up at alanvandenberg.com, barnesandnoble.com, or amazon.com. Be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're looking for a keynote speaker, as we're opening back up a little bit across the country here, if you're looking for a speaker on EQ that can speak to your organization or your team or your group, give me a shout. Give me a PM on any of the social medias. I'd love to talk to you about doing that. And lastly, I wanted to mention, I'm going to be doing a special appearance at the Austin Record Convention on May the 7th, 8th, and 9th. I will be there at the convention, have books available. We'll sign them also. And just a part of the show, the record convention, and we have a booth there. We're selling some records, and I'll be selling my book EQ Killed the Radio Star as well. Would love to meet you if you're in the Austin, Texas area. Love to see you on May the 7th, 8th, and 9th. So on to the topic today, emotional switches. I came across some research called Emotions in Everyday Life from three authors, Deborah Trappi, Jordi Quadback, and Maxi Chiquette. Through a phone app, this team monitored 11,000 people and their emotions throughout the day. The results were very interesting. Participants experienced at least one emotion 90% of the time. Let me repeat that. Participants experienced at least one emotion 90% of the time. The most frequent emotion was joy, followed by love and anxiety. People experience positive emotions 2.5 times more often than negative emotions, but they also experience positive and negative emotions simultaneously and relatively frequently. So think about a typical day for most of us. Typical days consist of getting up in the morning, getting ready for work. That could mean going out and doing a workout as well. We go to work either physically or virtually. We work, then we go take a break, go to lunch, then we come back to work, then we leave work. And we spend 4 or 5 hours in the evening spending time with family, our hobbies, watching Netflix, those kind of things. Along this typical, predictable day comes events and interactions that trigger our emotional switches. So what is an emotional? What are emotional switches? I like to relate them to like switches, light switches in your home. They're in different rooms, they have different names, and we know when they're turned on and turned off. Understanding your emotional switches, when they happen, how we react, and how we behave. This is emotional intelligence, or emotional quotient, EQ. So back to our typical workday. Think about events and interactions that turn our emotional switches on and off. For instance, driving to work. It's always such a fun time. Driving to work, where you have drivers that have no idea how to drive. They certainly can't signal. And oh, by the way, while you're driving, you come upon the dreaded road construction. Are you serious? Does it not seem like nowadays there's road construction like every other mile? It certainly feels like that way in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So what emotional switch is turned on and off for you during the day? What about when you get to work and you pull up on your laptop or on your phone and there's an email about a problem and your boss's boss is CC'd on that email? What emotional switches are turned on and turned off? You get a cell phone call and you see the name of the person that's calling you, and you look at it and automatically, many times, there is an emotional switch that is turned on or turned off for you. What do you own? What emotions can affect your behavior? Do you know what they are? Emotional intelligence, EQ, is about knowing your emotions and reacting in a positive, effective way. I have a list of emotions that I have kept in my wallet for years. It helps me coach clients. As we're having a conversation and I'm coaching clients, I pull this list out. There are a lot of different lists on how many emotions there are. Some say there's 9, some say there's 20, but there's a lot of them. But remember, it doesn't matter how many there are. Do you know what yours are? Remember, the research states that 90% of the time, all of us have at least one of these emotions or our emotional switch on. The four major areas are happy, sad, angry, and afraid. The one that I use, those are the four areas that emotions are under. And I'll send a link of these emotional lists to you in the links below on the video. And so I'll do that as a addition to this video. So here is how emotional switches work. Last week I was at work and I was wrapping up a relatively tough week. There was a lot of decisions to be made and different things like that. And kind of wrapping up the day, I was walking down the hallway and I ran into a coworker. And that coworker we began to have a conversation, and I said to the person, I said, hey, I got some updates for you. And they said to me things like, hey, I just want you to know that this issue that we're working out together, I want this, this, and this, and that's the only way I want it. And as this conversation began to unfold, my emotional switches started to go off. I started to think to myself, uh-oh, maybe I'm not the right person to fix this issue or this problem for this coworker. And of course, it's a leader in the organization, so I want to help. But I had this flood of emotions coming over me of doubt, of self-talk negatively, of could I do this? Was I going to be able to make this project work for this coworker of mine? And so I began to think about emotional switches again and what was happening to me. And my self-talk literally went from this has been a great week to, boy, I hope I can pull this off for this coworker. And I immediately recognized what was happening, and I chose to turn those negative emotions to positive. As I processed what was going on, I was doing to myself over the next few minutes, I began to refocus my emotions and my self-talk back to positive. Emotions can be a complete roller coaster ride, and that literally is what happened in a matter of a minute. I went from really high, walking down the hallway, the week was great, got a lot of things accomplished, to, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. And it took me a few minutes to get back up on to the positive side with the emotions that I needed to help me be effective. So research, having at least one emotion 90% of the time. Believe me, I had more than that during this whole 2 or 3 minute segment. Do you know what your emotions are, and how can you self-manage those emotions to stay positive? For the emotions that are helping you, keep those. For the ones that are hurting you, from a results standpoint, you need to figure out how you can reframe that emotion and get back to positive. So hopefully this was helpful for you. It was helpful for me. It just happened to me last week. I was thinking about this, the emotional triggers and the ones that we have. I'll send you a list in the links below. And want to leave you with this: find what you were made to do in life and do that to the best of your ability. Don't allow anyone or anything to steal your joy and your happiness, and live life every day, because nothing's guaranteed. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.